You raised them, you sacrificed for them, you gave them everything you had, and now, it feels like they barely acknowledge you. The phone calls are less frequent, the visits, almost non-existent, and when they do come around, there's an edge in their voice, a lack of patience. Maybe they ignore your advice, maybe they brush you off, maybe they even talk to you in a way that stings, like you don't matter. If you've ever felt disrespected by your own children, you're not alone. This is one of the hardest realities of aging. Feeling like the people you love most no longer value your wisdom, your presence, or your role in their lives. But before you let resentment grow, before you accept defeat, I want you to know something. Respect is not lost forever. It can be rebuilt. And in this video, I'm going to show you how. This is not about blaming your children. It's about understanding what's happening, why it's happening, and, most importantly, how you can take back your power, regain their respect, and rebuild a stronger, healthier relationship. We're going to cover 6 powerful strategies, rooted in psychology, communication, and self-respect, that will change the way your children see you, and more importantly, the way you see yourself. So if you've ever felt unheard, undervalued, or dismissed by your own family, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll have the tools to not just demand respect, but to inspire it. Respect is something we expect naturally from our children. After all, we raised them, sacrificed for them, and guided them through life's challenges. So, when we start to feel dismissed, ignored, or even belittled, it hurts. It feels unfair. But here's something important to understand. When respect fades, it's usually not about one single moment. It happens gradually. And to rebuild that respect, we have to first understand why it disappeared in the first place. Let's talk about the most common reasons why adult children lose respect for their parents, and what you can do about it. 1. Changing family dynamics. When your children were young, your relationship had a natural hierarchy. You were the authority, the decision maker, the protector. They depended on you for everything: food, shelter, advice, emotional support. But as they grew up, that dynamic shifted. As children become independent, they begin to see themselves as equals in the world. They start making their own choices, forming their own opinions, and living life by their own rules. This is a normal part of growing up, but sometimes, in their effort to establish their independence, they forget that respect should still be a core part of the relationship. And if they've grown used to seeing you as the person who takes care of things, without seeing you as an individual with your own needs, it can lead to a subconscious lack of respect. Number 2. Cultural and generational shifts. The world has changed dramatically in just one generation. The values, traditions, and social expectations you grew up with are not the same ones shaping the younger generation today. And sometimes this gap creates tension. For example, many older adults grew up in a time when respect for parents and elders was taught as a fundamental value. Questioning authority wasn't as common. Today's world, however, encourages independence, questioning traditions, and even challenging authority figures, including parents. Your adult children may not even realize that their casual tone, their dismissive attitude, or their reluctance to take your advice feels like a sign of disrespect to you. They may see it as simply having their own voice. But if this generational gap is left unaddressed, it can widen the emotional distance between you. The key here is not to demand respect by saying, "In my day, things were different," but rather to find common ground, ways to bridge the gap without feeling like you're stuck in the past and they're living in a different world. Number 3. Unintentional parental mistakes. Now, this one is hard to hear, but it's important. Sometimes, without realizing it, we contribute to the loss of respect. It's never intentional, but certain behaviors can push our adult children away. One of the most common reasons respect fades is when parents continue treating their adult children like they're still kids. If you constantly give them unsolicited advice, correct their decisions, or remind them of what they should be doing, they may start tuning you out, or worse, resenting the conversation. Another common mistake? Over-involvement. If you step in too much, offering to solve their problems, giving them financial help without boundaries, or making them feel like they owe you something, it can actually backfire. Instead of gratitude, they might feel suffocated, controlled, or obligated, which can turn into resentment. But the good news? These patterns can be changed. By recognizing when we might be overstepping or holding on too tightly, we can shift our approach in a way that earns back their respect rather than pushing them further away. 4. Lack of personal boundaries. Here's something many people don't realize. Respect and boundaries go hand in hand. If your child feels like they can speak to you however they want, ignore your messages, or take advantage of your kindness, it's often because boundaries were never clearly set. For example, do you allow them to dismiss your feelings without calling it out? Do you let them talk to you in a way that feels disrespectful because you don't want to cause conflict? Do you continue helping them in ways that leave you feeling drained without ever saying no? Boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about teaching others how to treat you. And when you start enforcing boundaries, kindly but firmly, you start regaining the respect that might have been lost over time. Now that we understand why respect fades, the next step is figuring out how to restore it. And it starts with the foundation of all strong relationships. Healthy boundaries. Have you ever felt like your adult children take advantage of your kindness? Maybe they only call when they need something. Maybe they dismiss your feelings, ignore your advice, or even talk to you in ways that feel disrespectful. And yet, you keep allowing it because you don't want to push them away. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many older adults struggle with setting boundaries because they fear conflict or losing connection with their children. But here's the truth. Without boundaries, respect erodes. Respect isn't just about how they treat you, it's about how you allow yourself to be treated. The good news? You can start setting boundaries today. And when you do, you'll notice a shift, not only in how they see you, but in how you see yourself. Many people think boundaries are about pushing people away, but that's not true. Healthy boundaries actually strengthen relationships because they create clear expectations and mutual respect. So, what do healthy boundaries look like? Saying no without guilt. Learning that no is a complete sentence. Standing firm on your values, not bending just to keep the peace. Not accepting disrespect. Calling out rude or dismissive behavior calmly but directly. Protecting your time and energy. Not always dropping everything for others. Letting go of guilt. Understanding that you are not responsible for fixing your child's problems. Boundaries tell people, this is how I expect to be treated, and I will not accept less. And that message, when communicated with calm confidence, builds respect over time. One of the biggest fears about setting boundaries is conflict. Many older adults worry, what if my child gets mad? What if they stop calling? But here's something to remember. The people who react the worst to your boundaries are the ones who benefited the most from you not having them. The key to setting boundaries without turning it into a fight is in how you communicate them. Here's a simple framework to follow. Step 1. Be clear and direct. Say exactly what you need in a calm, neutral tone. Avoid long explanations. Over-explaining can make you seem uncertain. Example. Instead of saying, I don't know, I just feel like I can't keep helping, say, I can't continue lending you money. I need to focus on my own finances. Step 2. Stay firm but kind. If they push back, repeat your boundary without getting defensive. Example. If they say, but you've always helped me before, respond with, I understand, but this is a decision I've made for myself. Step 3. Don't apologize for having boundaries. You don't need to justify taking care of yourself. Example. Instead of I'm really sorry, but I just can't, say I won't be able to do that. Your boundaries are not up for negotiation. They are your rules for how you expect to be treated. One of the hardest parts of setting boundaries is dealing with the guilt that follows. If you've spent your life putting your children first, saying no might feel uncomfortable at first. And sometimes your children may try to make you feel guilty, whether they mean to or not. They might say things like, but you're my parent. You're supposed to help me. You don't love me if you won't do this for me. You're being selfish. This is called emotional manipulation. It's an attempt to make you question your decision. But here's what you need to remember. You are not responsible for their happiness. It is not selfish to prioritize your well-being. Saying no does not mean you don't love them. If your child reacts negatively, stay calm. You can respond with phrases like, I hear that you're upset, but my decision is final. I love you, but I need to do what's best for me. I'm happy to help in other ways, but this is where I draw the line. Over time, when they see that you mean what you say, they will begin to respect your boundaries, even if they don't like them at first. A boundary without consequences is just a suggestion. If you set a rule, but don't enforce it, your child will learn that they can ignore it without consequences. For example, if they speak to you disrespectfully, calmly end the conversation. If they ignore your boundaries, reduce contact until they respect them. If they rely on you financially, but don't appreciate it, stop providing money. Your actions must match your words. Otherwise, they will keep testing the limits. Boundaries are not about punishment, they are about self-respect. When you set and enforce boundaries, you teach your children how to treat you, and the more you respect yourself, the more they will respect you too. As parents, we spend decades guiding our children, supporting them, and being the foundation they can always lean on. But somewhere along the way, many of us start measuring our worth by how much our children acknowledge, appreciate, or validate us. You might find yourself wondering, why doesn't my child call or visit more often? Why do they ignore my advice when all I want is to help? Do they even appreciate everything I've done for them? It's natural to want love and recognition from our children, but when we depend on their validation to feel valued, we give away our power. So here's the hard truth. If you keep waiting for your child's approval, gratitude, or validation to feel good about yourself, you will always be at their mercy. It's time to stop seeking validation and start taking back your power. One of the biggest ways we lose power is by constantly seeking attention or approval from our children. It often looks like this: over-explaining yourself, feeling the need to justify your choices to get their approval, constantly reaching out first, always being the one who calls, texts, or arranges visits, feeling anxious if they don't respond quickly, worrying that silence means they're upset with you, trying too hard to please them, saying yes to things you don't want to do, just to avoid conflict, letting their words or actions control your emotions, feeling happy when they're kind, but devastated when they're distant. If any of these sound familiar, it means you've been placing too much power in their hands. The solution? Shift your focus inward. Instead of waiting for them to make you feel valued, it's time to create that value within yourself. One of the strongest things you can do is practice emotional detachment. This doesn't mean you stop loving your children, it means you stop depending on their actions to determine your happiness. Here's how you can start detaching in a healthy way. Stop chasing them. Let them come to you sometimes. If they don't, focus on your own life instead of waiting. Don't take their behavior personally. If they're distant, rude, or dismissive, remember, it's about them, not you. Lower your expectations. Accept that they may never be as attentive or affectionate as you'd like, and that's okay. Keep conversations short and positive. Instead of long emotional talks, keep things light and pleasant. Don't react emotionally. If they're disrespectful, calmly state your boundary and move on. No need for arguments or emotional outbursts. When you stop depending on them for emotional validation, something interesting happens. You regain control over your own happiness. You feel lighter, freer, and more at peace. One of the biggest reasons parents seek validation from their children is because they've lost sight of their own worth outside of being mom or dad. But here's the truth. You are more than just a parent. You are a whole person with passions, wisdom, and value that don't depend on anyone else's approval. So how do you rebuild self-worth? Reconnect with your passions. What did you love before parenting consumed your life? Art? Music? Travel? It's time to rediscover those interests. Build a strong social circle, join a club, attend a class, or reconnect with old friends. Focus on personal achievements. Set new goals for yourself, whether it's fitness, learning something new, or volunteering. Practice self-care. Take care of your mind and body. Dress well, eat well, and move your body. Affirm yourself daily. Stop waiting for compliments from others. Tell yourself, I am worthy. I am enough. I deserve respect. The more you focus on your own fulfillment, the less you will need external validation to feel good about yourself. Here's something powerful to remember. People will treat you the way you allow them to. If you act like your time, words, and feelings don't matter, they will follow your lead. But if you carry yourself with confidence and self-respect, they will learn to respect you too. How do you set the tone? Speak with confidence. When you talk, do so with self-assurance. Don't downplay your thoughts. Correct disrespect immediately. If your child interrupts, dismisses, or speaks rudely, address it calmly but firmly. Don't seek approval before making decisions. You don't need to ask, "Do you think I should do this?" Instead say, "I've decided to do this." Lead by example. Show them what self-respect looks like, and they will follow. When you show up as a person who respects themselves, others, including your children, will start respecting you too. You don't need your child's constant validation to know your worth. You are valuable just as you are. And when you stop seeking their approval, you take back the power you've always had. How often have you had a conversation with your child that turned into an argument? Maybe you started by calmly expressing a concern, but before you knew it, voices were raised, frustration built up, and nothing got resolved. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many older adults struggle with communication because they come from a place of emotion instead of strength. Here's the problem. The more emotional you get, the less your child listens. When you raise your voice, beg, or react defensively, they see it as weakness. And in their mind, it justifies their disrespect. But when you communicate with strength, calm, clear, and in control, you shift the power in the conversation. They have no choice but to take you seriously. So let's talk about how you can stop emotional reactions and start speaking with the authority you deserve. The way you speak determines how much respect you get. A weak, pleading voice tells your child you're unsure of yourself. A loud, emotional voice tells them you've lost control. But a steady, calm voice commands respect. Let's compare two ways of responding to the same situation. Emotional reaction. You never listen to me. You're so disrespectful. Why do you treat me this way? Strength-based response. I don't like how you're speaking to me. Let's have a conversation with mutual respect. Which one do you think will make them take you more seriously? The second one. Why? Because it's clear, calm, and firm. Your goal isn't to overpower them, it's to show that you will not be moved by disrespect. One of the hardest things to deal with is when your child speaks to you in a way that feels dismissive or rude. Your first instinct might be to react with anger, hurt, or frustration. But remember, emotion gives them control. Strength keeps it in your hands. The next time your child is disrespectful, do this. Pause before responding. Take a deep breath. Silence is powerful. It shows you're not easily shaken. Use a calm but firm response. Instead of, "How dare you speak to me like that?" Say, "I don't tolerate disrespect. If you want to talk to me, do so respectfully." Set a consequence. If they keep pushing, enforce a consequence without arguing. I'll continue this conversation when we can speak respectfully. Then, walk away if needed. This approach makes it clear. You will not engage in emotional battles. They either communicate with respect, or they lose access to your attention. Many parents make a mistake when they try to justify every boundary, decision, or request with long explanations. They hope if they explain enough, their child will finally understand and agree. But in reality, over-explaining just makes you look uncertain. Here's a rule to remember. The more you explain, the less powerful you sound. Example. Weak. I don't think I can watch the grandkids tomorrow because I have a doctor's appointment and I need rest and I have other things to do. Strong. I'm unavailable tomorrow. No need to justify. No need to apologize. A confident statement is enough. One of the best ways to communicate with strength is to use short, direct statements that leave no room for debate. Here are a few phrases you can start using today. I won't tolerate that tone. This conversation is over. I've made my decision. I don't argue. I expect to be treated with respect. No emotion. No long explanations. Just a firm statement that shows you mean what you say. The more you use these, the more your child will realize that when you say something, you mean it. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away. If your child refuses to listen, continues to be disrespectful, or tries to argue, don't engage. Just remove yourself from the situation. Walking away does three things. It shows them you won't tolerate disrespect. It prevents arguments from escalating. It keeps you in control of your emotions. You don't need to prove your point. You don't need to win the conversation. Your strength comes from knowing you don't have to participate in their drama. When you communicate with strength instead of emotion, You send a clear message: I am not weak. I am not desperate for your approval. I am someone who deserves respect. And the more you hold that standard, the more your children will adjust their behavior. Respect is not something you demand, it's something you inspire. Many parents struggle with disrespect from their children because they've spent years trying to control, correct, or persuade them, without realizing that the most powerful way to gain respect is to demonstrate it through your own actions. Think about this. If you want your children to respect your time, your boundaries, and your wisdom, they need to see you respecting your own time, boundaries, and wisdom first. If you tolerate mistreatment, constantly sacrifice your own needs, or live in self-doubt, your children will mirror that. But when they see you living with confidence, dignity, and self-respect, they will follow your lead. So how do you lead by example and earn back the respect you deserve? Let's break it down. One of the biggest mistakes parents make is trying to control their adult children. You might not even realize you're doing it, but it can sound like this: you should be calling me more. I don't like the way you're raising your kids. Why don't you listen to my advice? The truth is, the more you try to control your child's behavior, the more they will resist you. Nobody respects someone who constantly criticizes, nags, or complains. Instead, shift your focus inward. Stop trying to change them and start working on yourself. When you improve your own life, their respect will come naturally. If you allow your child to speak to you dismissively, ignore your needs, or disrespect your time, they will keep doing it. But if you set clear expectations, they will have no choice but to adjust. Here's how to set the standard. Correct disrespect immediately. If your child talks over you, interrupts, or ignores you, don't let it slide. Say, I'd like to finish my thought. Hold them accountable for their actions. If they promise to call or visit but don't chase them down. Simply state, I noticed you didn't follow through. I expect honesty. Show self-respect in your everyday choices. If they cancel plans last minute, don't rearrange your life for them. Say, I made time for this. Let's reschedule when you're sure you can commit. Over time, your child will realize that you expect respect, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. Many parents make the mistake of making their children the center of their world. They sit by the phone waiting for a call. They feel hurt when their child is busy. They put their own dreams on hold, hoping for more attention. But here's the truth. If your life revolves around them, they will take you for granted. But if they see you living a full, independent, and joyful life, they will respect you more. Ask yourself, what is your life outside of being a parent? What hobbies, passions, or goals have you set for yourself? Are you living your own life, or just waiting for theirs to include you? The moment you shift your focus to your own fulfillment, they will start seeing you in a different light, not as a needy parent, but as a strong individual they admire. Respect isn't just about boundaries, it's also about connection. If you want your child to listen to you, spend time with you, and respect your role in their life, you have to be the kind of parent they want to be around. Here's how you do that. Let go of old grievances. Stop bringing up past mistakes and focus on the present. Be a source of wisdom, not control. Offer advice only when asked. Let them make their own mistakes. Keep conversations positive. Don't just complain about their lack of visits. Talk about interesting things happening in your life. Respect them first. The best way to earn respect is to give it. Treat them as independent adults, not as children who owe you their time. When you create an environment where they feel respected, valued, and free, they will want to spend more time with you, not out of obligation, but out of genuine appreciation. Your children learn more from what you do than what you say. If you want them to be responsible, kind, and respectful, they need to see you living that way. For example, if you want them to be respectful, make sure you're speaking to them with respect first. If you want them to be responsible, show responsibility in how you handle your life. If you want them to listen, practice active listening when they speak. If you want them to value family, be someone they enjoy spending time with. The more you embody the qualities you want from them, the more they will mirror them back to you. Earning back your child's respect isn't about demanding it. It's about living in a way that naturally commands it. When you stop chasing their attention, set clear standards, and build a life that is strong and fulfilling, respect will follow. The moment you stop making your child the center of your world is the moment they start respecting you more. Many older parents unknowingly place all their happiness, validation, and emotional well-being in the hands of their children, expecting frequent calls, visits, and constant reassurance of love. But let's think about it for a moment. Who do we admire and respect in life? The people who are confident, self-sufficient, and in control of their own happiness. The same is true in parent-child relationships. When your child sees you living a full, independent life, they stop seeing you as a burden and start seeing you as someone to admire. Creating an independent and fulfilling life isn't just about earning their respect. It's about rediscovering yourself and embracing the next chapter of your journey with joy, purpose, and strength. So, how do you create a life that doesn't revolve around them? Let's go step by step. For decades, your identity has likely been centered around being a parent. You spent years taking care of your children, making sacrifices and prioritizing their needs. But now, they are adults. They have their own lives, their own families, their own responsibilities. It's time to ask yourself, who am I beyond being a mother or father? What do I love to do? What dreams have I put on hold? What passions have I ignored? It might feel uncomfortable at first, but shifting your identity from parent to individual is one of the most empowering things you can do. The moment you embrace your own life again, your children will see you in a new light, not as someone waiting for them, but as someone leading an inspiring life. One of the biggest mistakes older adults make is waiting for their children to fill their time. But your happiness should never depend on someone else's schedule. Instead, create a daily routine that is fulfilling, exciting, and meaningful to you. Here are some ways to do that. Start your morning with purpose. Whether it's reading, exercising, or journaling, begin your day for yourself, not by checking your phone to see if your child called. Engage in social activities. Join clubs, take classes, or volunteer. Surround yourself with people who bring joy and laughter into your life. Pursue hobbies and passions. Have you always wanted to paint, learn an instrument, travel more? Now is the time. Set goals for personal growth. Whether it's learning a new skill, writing a book, or improving your health, having goals gives you a sense of purpose. When your child sees that you are active, independent, and happy, they will naturally respect you more and feel inspired by your lifestyle. Many older parents unknowingly place their self-worth in their children's hands. If they call, you feel valued. If they don't, you feel rejected. But real confidence and happiness don't come from external validation. They come from within. Instead of measuring your worth by how often your child calls or visits, measure it by how fulfilled you feel in your daily life. When you shift from seeking validation to embracing self-worth, you regain control over your happiness. Children don't want to feel obligated to visit out of guilt. They want to visit because they enjoy being around you. The more you create a life filled with joy, confidence, and fulfillment, the more your child will be drawn to your energy. To make your presence enjoyable, focus on these 3 things. Be positive, not needy. Stop complaining about what they don't do. Instead, share exciting things happening in your life. Respect their independence. Give them space. The less you demand their attention, the more they'll want to give it. Create an environment of joy. Whether it's having interesting conversations, sharing stories, or laughing together, make time with you something they look forward to, not something they dread out of obligation. When you create an uplifting presence, your children won't feel like visiting is a chore. They'll genuinely want to be around you. One of the biggest reasons older adults feel lost is because they no longer have a clear purpose. For years, raising children gave life meaning, but now it's time to find a new source of fulfillment. Ask yourself, what makes me excited to wake up in the morning? How can I give back to others? What are the things I've always wanted to do but never had time for? Whether it's mentoring, volunteering, traveling, or learning something new, having a strong sense of purpose will bring joy, confidence, and fulfillment back into your life. And the best part? Your children will see you thriving, and they'll naturally feel more drawn to you, not out of duty, but out of admiration and love. At the end of the day, respect comes from within. When you build an independent, fulfilling, and purpose-driven life, your children will no longer see you as someone who needs their attention. They will see you as someone worthy of their time, admiration, and respect. We've covered a lot in this video, and I want you to take a deep breath and reflect on everything we've discussed. If your children have stopped respecting you, it doesn't mean the relationship is lost. It simply means it's time for change, and that change starts with you. Some of you may be thinking, but I've already lost too much time, or I'm too old to change things now. But let me tell you something. It's never too late to take back your dignity, your happiness, and your power. Respect isn't about age. It's about how you carry yourself. It's about how you walk into a room, how you hold your head high, how you handle challenges, and how you embrace life, no matter your age. Starting today, I want you to stop waiting for others to treat you with respect and start demanding it, not with anger or ultimatums, but with quiet strength, unshakable confidence, and a renewed sense of self-worth. Because when you respect yourself, the world follows your lead. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 6 steps resonated with you the most? Have you ever struggled with feeling disrespected by your children? And if so, what have you done to change it? Drop a comment below. I will personally read and respond to as many as I can, because this isn't just a video. It's a community of people who are working together to create stronger, healthier, and more respectful relationships. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it. It really helps spread this message to others who may need it. And most importantly, if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos that will empower you to live your best life on your terms. Remember, you are worthy, you are strong, and you deserve to be treated with respect by everyone, including your children. Take this knowledge and put it into action. And until next time, keep standing tall, keep living boldly, and keep respecting yourself, because that is where true power begins.